May 13th, 10:23 p.m. A woman steps into a busted motel with one mission that's about to change everything. Secrets will drop, and trust me, the twist will hit hard. Yo fam, glad you pulled up. This ain't just another story. It's a wild ride packed with smart moves and bigger surprises. Stick around, it's about to get real. Before we jump in, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. Drop a comment too, show some love. And remember, even if stories sound the same, they ain't never the same when I'm the one telling them. The movie starts in a small, tired bar that smells like old beer and broken dreams. Joe works behind the counter, drying glasses that never seem clean. She spots Mark Setter, a sharp-dressed assistant district attorney lurking at the bar. His smile is too quick, his eyes too busy. Mark slides money to a shady man, tucking something into his coat like it's just another Tuesday. His buddy Larry slouches beside him, drinking like the world already ended. Mark orders a beer and strikes up a conversation. Joe plays along, throwing out a joke about never having time after work. Her laugh is light, but the air between them feels heavy, like a storm about to break. Mark chuckles, and for a moment, they pretend they're normal people with normal lives. Later, Joe and Mark spend some time together, peeling back pieces of themselves. Joe talks about her bar, how she clawed her way up from nothing. Mark listens, nodding, impressed by scars he'll never really understand. Their laughter sounds like it's echoing from the bottom of a well, but peace never lasts long around here. Mark's phone blares, shattering the moment like a rock through glass. He flips on the TV. The news is all about him, the hero who crushed the Delete Sono case, exposing a businessman who left a trail of bodies in his climb to power. Mark soaks in the praise, but Joe can see the cracks. His eyes are too bright, his smile too tight. Joe begs him to stay, to breathe, to be human for 5 more minutes. But Mark pulls away, weighed down by invisible chains. She warns him about Ernie Ducks, a name that smells like danger and blood. Mark waves it off, flashing the same tired bravado that gets dead men buried fast. He slides a cold ring onto his finger, tosses her a final glance like it's spare change, and vanishes into the night. While driving alone through the empty night, Mark calls his wife, Sharon. She cheers for him over the phone, saying she saw him smiling like a king on TV. They toss a few soft words back and forth, but Mark sounds miles away, his mind tangled in shadows. Out of the corner of his eye, he spots headlights sticking too close. He checks his mirrors, heart thudding faster. A cold twist of fear snakes through him when he sees the car speeding up. Before Mark can blink, the car slams into him, shoving him off the road like a toy. His phone drops, the call with Sharon cutting out into ugly silence. Back at home, Sharon freezes. She stares at the dead line, her hands shaking. She tries to call him back again and again, but all she gets is nothing. Empty space. Fear gnaws at her chest like a wild animal. Morning brings no mercy. Sharon's world crumbles when her friend, Detective Carmen Traxler, shows up at the door with death hanging off her words. Mark is gone. Sharon stumbles through the hospital halls, refusing to believe the still body they show her is really him. She grips Carmen's hand, demanding answers the world refuses to give. Carmen leans in close and whispers a promise that smells of hope and danger. She will find out what really happened. Joe hears the news and feels like the floor drops out from under her. Mark is dead, but what cuts deeper is finding out he had a wife the whole time. He never said a word, not once. The betrayal hits her harder than any punch could. Hurt, angry, and confused, Joe pulls away from it all. She stays locked behind her bar walls, wondering if she ever really knew him. Her chest feels stuffed with broken glass, but she keeps her mouth shut and swallows the pain. At Mark's funeral, the sky feels too heavy to breathe. Sharon stands stiff by his casket, her hands clenched tight as people line up to spill sad words she barely hears. Joe watches from the shadows, her heart pounding like a drum. She doesn't belong here. She knows it, but her feet won't move. Larry, the loyal drinking buddy, slinks over to Sharon and offers the weak promise that he's there for her. Sharon nods like she heard him, but her eyes are far away, lost somewhere Mark can't reach anymore. Later, Larry drags himself back to his apartment, worn out and hollow. But the second he steps inside, something feels wrong. The air is thick, like breathing through wet cement. 2 figures step out of the dark, Strand and Sheldon, faces cold as tombstones. Strand demands the documents Mark had taken from Ducks. Larry stammers, swearing he doesn't know. Strand smiles like a wolf. When he threatens Sharon, Larry breaks, spilling the truth. Dux still has them. Larry begs them not to hurt her, his voice cracking. Strand just chuckles, stepping into the night like the devil he is. The next day, Jo decides to go to the funeral. Her heart is a mess of feelings, confusion, anger, and hurt. She doesn't want to, but something pulls her there. As she stands near the edge, Sharon walks up. They both stare at the ground, awkward at first, before Sharon breaks the silence. They introduce themselves, their words like quiet footsteps in a dark room. Sharon speaks about Mark, her voice fragile like it could snap. Jo admits she had no idea Mark was married. Sharon looks her over, her eyes full of something heavy, before she nods slowly. Mark kept many secrets, she says, and it feels like a cold wind. Before Jo can slip away, Sharon stops her. She says how strange it feels to talk to someone who isn't tied to her usual life. There's something in her eyes, a small spark of hope. She asks if Jo would have a drink with her, and Jo, despite everything, invites her to her box at the bar. They keep talking, sharing pieces of their pain. Sharon says she never knew Mark came to the bar, and she wonders why he kept it a secret. It feels like a puzzle with missing pieces. She also mentions how she doesn't know the password to Mark's computer, and the detectives need it to figure things out. Jo's mind races back to the night Mark died. She remembers seeing him meet two men. One was Dux. The other man was a stranger, but she saw Dux hand something over to Mark. A cold chill runs through her as she wonders if this is all connected to his death. Sharon shifts the conversation to the Delete Sono case. Mark had worked on it for a long time. It could have put dangerous people behind bars. Sharon's voice drops, filled with suspicion. She thinks his murder might be linked to the case. Then Sharon adds something strange. Mark had started wearing a pink tie recently. He'd always hated the color. Sharon never thought to ask him why, but now it feels like an important clue. Before Jo can respond, her eyes catch Wendy, Duck's girlfriend, sitting nearby. Something about Wendy's presence feels like a warning. Jo stands up and walks over to her, asking about Dux. Wendy hesitates, her eyes darting nervously, but Jo offers to pay for her drinks if she'll share what she knows. Wendy finally gives in, telling Jo where Dux is staying. Sharon tries calling Carmen, but the phone just rings. Frustrated, she leaves a quick message. Instead of waiting around for the police, she and Jo decide to find Dux themselves. Sharon is surprised by Jo's boldness, but feels thankful. Following Wendy's directions, they reach an old, creepy house. The windows are covered in thick layers of dust, and the air smells stale, like it hasn't been breathed in for years. The silence is heavy, pressing down on them as they step inside. They walk carefully through the dark hallways, their footsteps soft on the old floors. Suddenly, on the second floor, they hear a noise. Both women freeze, hearts pounding. Slowly, they move toward the sound. When they reach the room, they find something that stops them cold. Dux is dead. His body slumps lifeless against the wall. They stand there, both frozen in fear, staring at the horror in front of them. What should they do now? Call the police or leave it all behind? Before they can decide what to do, Jo spots movement outside. She rushes to the window, her heart pounding. A group of men is leaving the house. Their faces are hidden under hooded jackets, but their steps are quick and suspicious. Without thinking, Jo bolts out the door, following them. Sharon hesitates, her eyes darting between Jo and the door. She runs after her, determined to keep up. Suddenly, one of the men turns and attacks Jo, but Jo's quick. She kicks him hard, sending him stumbling backward. Before the man can recover, Sharon steps in. She kicks him from behind, knocking him further off balance. For a second, they think they're safe, but just then, Strand appears, his face calm, but his eyes full of cold menace. Jo and Sharon exchange a quick glance. They know they're in trouble. Before either of them can react, Jo grabs a gun from Sharon's bag. She starts shooting, but the chaos throws her aim off. The man escapes, vanishing into the shadows before anyone can stop him. Sharon and Jo stand there, gasping for air, the weight of their mistake sinking in. They just lost their only lead. Later, Detective Carmen arrives to check the scene. She looks around carefully, taking in every detail. Her eyes are sharp, her mind racing. She turns to Jo and asks, "What happened here?" Jo doesn't hesitate. She tells Carmen that she believes Mark's death and Duck's murder are connected. She explains that Dux gave Mark something very important before he died, something worth killing for. Carmen listens, her face unreadable. "Don't jump to conclusions," she warns. She's skeptical, but she's listening. As Carmen continues her investigation, Jo spots something. One of the men she saw at Duck's house is in a photograph. Her eyes light up. She points him out, her voice steady. It's a big clue. It's proof they're on the right track. Meanwhile, Carmen quietly pulls Sharon aside and gives her a secret file about Jo's past. It shows Jo has been in trouble before. Fraud, always moving from place to place. Carmen warns Sharon to be careful, but Sharon just shakes her head. She tells Carmen to focus on finding Mark's killer, not digging into Joe's past. Carmen doesn't argue. Instead, she shares some chilling news. A powerful man hired someone named Lewis to clean up problems. Lewis is dangerous, known for leaving no loose ends. At the same time, Joe confirms the man from Duck's house. It's a huge breakthrough. The case just got stronger. Sharon thanks Joe, her voice a little shaky. She asks how Joe learned to fight so well. Joe doesn't answer right away. She simply says, "My ex-boyfriend taught me," and then moves on, clearly not wanting to talk about it any further. That night, Joe goes home with Sharon, but when they step inside, they freeze. The house is completely wrecked. Drawers are open, furniture is smashed, and papers are scattered everywhere. It's like someone was searching for something important. Sharon's hands shake as she takes in the destruction, her eyes wide with disbelief. Joe, feeling angry and frustrated, takes a sip of whiskey. She hands the bottle to Sharon. Without a word, they sit in the mess, surrounded by chaos. As the silence stretches, Sharon begins to speak. She talks about her child, the one who only lived for 6 hours. Her voice trembles, raw with emotion. Joe listens quietly, realizing that Sharon's pain runs deeper than she ever could have guessed. Joe hesitates for a moment, but then she insists, "We need to leave. It's not safe here anymore." She helps Sharon pack up, making sure she gets to Joe's house where it will be safer. As they walk through the house, Sharon notices something strange on a table. A set of tools, including a flashbang. It's a device that stuns people without hurting them. Sharon's curiosity rises. She wonders why Joe would have something like that. But then, in the bathroom, she stumbles across something that takes her by surprise. Hidden behind the mirror is a photo of Joe and Mark, smiling together, looking like they were close. Sharon's heart skips a beat, a feeling of betrayal crushing her chest. Shocked and hurt, Sharon can't take it anymore. She storms out, not even knowing where she's going. Joe tries to follow, but by the time she reaches the door, Sharon has already disappeared into the night. Sharon goes to Larry's place, her mind still racing. She asks him, "Did you know about Mark and Joe?" Larry looks surprised and shakes his head. "No, I didn't. But you know I'll always have your back, Sharon." Sharon feels a small bit of comfort from his words, but the anger is still there, bubbling under the surface. She's upset, but something about Larry's promise helps calm her. She decides to go back to her broken house, even though it's a mess and there's danger lurking. She feels like she has nowhere else to go, so she stays, unsure of what the night will bring. The next morning, Joe goes to Sharon's house, hoping to explain everything, but Sharon is too angry to listen. Joe pleads, "You have to understand. I didn't know Mark was married. I only found out after he died." She adds, "Our relationship was short, just a few months." Sharon's eyes are full of rage as she shakes her head, refusing to forgive her. She feels betrayed and can't get past her anger. As Joe walks out, her eyes catch a picture of Larry, and she suddenly realizes that Larry was with Mark the night he met Ducks. She turns back and tells Sharon what she just discovered. Sharon, still upset, thinks for a moment and says, "Fine, we'll keep working together, but we're reporting everything to the police. Together." Joe and Sharon head to Mark's office, where they find a video on his computer. It shows the district attorney's wife with a man named Deno. Sharon quickly realizes it's important and records it on her phone. Just as they're about to do more, District Attorney Sheldon walks in. He stumbles over his words, quickly apologizes, and leaves, acting strangely. Joe and Sharon exchange a sharp look, both knowing something much bigger is going on. Later they meet Larry, who drops a bombshell. Mark bought secret files from Ducks. These files hold dangerous information about powerful people at Delano Industries. Sharon is furious at Larry for keeping this from her. She storms off, struggling to piece together the lies and secrets that have surrounded Mark's life. As Sharon walks alone, she's suddenly cornered by Lewis and his partner, Sonny. They trap her in an alley, but Sharon doesn't give up. She runs. They catch up to her and pin her under a car, pressing down hard to stop her from moving. Just in time, Joe arrives. She fights off Sonny while Sharon pushes Lewis away. Together, they barely manage to escape in their car, speeding off as bullets whiz past them. Sharon watches the video again, and this time, she notices something shocking. Detective Carmen is in it. Now they don't know who they can trust. They decide to visit Lisa, who has connections to Sheldon and Delano. Sharon asks Lisa about her ties to the company, but Lisa says she only knows them through charity events. Meanwhile, Joe secretly searches Lisa's house but is caught before she can find anything useful. What Lisa doesn't know is that her conversation with Sheldon is being recorded. In the recording, Lisa warns Sheldon about Joe and Sharon's visit, confirming their suspicions. Later, Joe and Sharon see Carmen walk into Sheldon's house, raising even more questions about her involvement. They can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. They take all their evidence to Detective Glenn at the police station, but he refuses to help. He tells them that Carmen is already handling the case. Carmen then confronts them directly, quickly, warning them to stop investigating. She tells them that Lisa reported Joe snooping around. When Joe and Sharon deny it, Carmen reminds them that their actions could get them into serious trouble. That night, Joe takes Sharon to visit her birth mother at the hospital. As they leave, Sharon suddenly asks if Mark ever really loved Joe. After a long pause, Joe finally admits that he didn't love her. He was just using her as a way to forget things. But Joe then confesses something surprising. She truly loved him. Later that night, Sharon gets a scary phone call from Lewis. He calmly tells her that he has Larry as a hostage. He gives her an address and warns her not to bring anyone, or Larry will die. She hears Larry begging in the background. When Joe asks where she's going, Sharon lies, saying she just needs to clear her head. Sharon arrives at the location alone and follows Lewis inside. But before anything happens, Larry outsmarts them and manages to kill both Sonny and Lewis. He then hands Sharon a flash drive with proof of Delano Industries' crimes. Before they can escape, Sheldon arrives, demanding the drive. Larry pulls a gun and forces Sheldon to hand over money in exchange for it. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out. Lewis, barely alive, shoots Larry. In the chaos, Joe arrives and causes an explosion as a distraction. The police storm in, and Detective Carmen arrests Sheldon and the Delano executives. In the end, a news report exposes Delano Industries' crimes. It reveals how they were poisoning local water. Thanks to the flash drive, justice is served. Sharon and Joe, despite everything that happened, know they made the right choice in fighting for the truth. As the sun rises on a new day, Sharon and Joe sit together, reflecting on everything that happened. Though the battle is over, they know their lives will never be the same. But for the first time in a long time, they both feel a sense of peace knowing they did the right thing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think happens next for her after the shocking truth is revealed? Let me know.